15 seconds. Stand by.
Today on MHK All Day, we'll see how local volunteers are inspiring the next generation of bikers, and what the A.Q. Miller School of Journalism has to say about 2 decades of working at K-State. Plus, can former football Wildcats light up the diamond? We'll show you. This is MHK All Day. Good morning and welcome to the first episode of MHK All Day. I'm Zach Perez. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we'll take a look at how volunteers in the Manhattan community are inspiring the younger generation to get outside and bike more. But first, we'll send it to Dawson and Kate for your news in 90 seconds.
Well, how about a warm welcome? Thanks, Zach. Welcome back to News in 90. I'm Dawson Wagner. This last week, the news cycle has been nonstop. So we've picked a few of the hot topics to share. The hottest of them all being protests just down the road at the University of Kansas. Thousands of students gathered in front of Phi Kappa Psi fraternity to protest a sexual assault allegation that is still under investigation. Since 2018, Kansas State has chosen to disaffiliate from Greek life in order to prevent the university from legal involvement with issues like that. On a lighter note, we have some shocking national news of a cat dangling by a thread and then falling from the second story of the Miami Dolphins Stadium in Florida. Take a look. What a heroic feat by those brave fans that caught that cat, and the fact that it was caught on video too, which now has over 7 million views. To wrap up this week on News in 90, we have a special vaccine mandate interview segment from our MHK All Day reporter, Kate Kennedy. Kate?
Thanks, Dawson. Vaccine mandates are here for businesses, but a majority of schools are not implementing them. At Kansas State, both students and faculty are not required to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. With President Biden's recent announcement that there will be a vaccine mandate for businesses with 100 employees or more, we wanted to hear what some K-State students had to say about these new policies.
Well, I'm a secondary education major, emphasis on history, so kind of actually plays into both. If you look at history and you look at the field of education, you're going to see vaccination requirements along with many other requirements in the past.
Businesses can certainly do what they want. They're private enterprises, and they can tell people to go elsewhere with their employment. The government, well, that's trickier. It's not an uncommon thing. We have done it in the past.
I feel like if the vaccine is proven to be safe, then there's no problem with it. And now that it is FDA approved, I think it makes a lot more sense to have those things than it did before.
I don't actually mind masks, but I don't want to get the vaccine just because it hasn't been tested for that long and we don't know what it's going to do in the long run. And I'm pretty healthy.
As a private citizen, I would favor it only because I would feel safer, but K-State has to do what it needs to do to be legal.
So I think it's your civil duty to be vaccinated, but I don't think that it is, but I also think it's your civil right to choose to not be.
With 70% of the student body fully vaccinated, but only 30% of Riley County, it seems like we have a way to go before the CDC can lift the high-risk label for our area. I guess we'll have to see what happens. Until next time, I'm Kate Kennedy with MHK All Day. Back to you, Dawson.
Thanks, Kate, for that special vaccine mandate update. Well, that's your News in 90 for this week. I'm Dawson Wagner for MHK All Day.
Thanks for the update, Dawson. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, we will hear from a teacher who is headed to the Hall of Fame. And Dr. Steve Smethers is retiring from K-State, but will leave a legacy of great talent and service behind him. That's what's next.
like a purple front has kind of moved into the stadium. Beautiful day and music's loud. The fans are on their feet.
Willman crushes it to left. And K-State leads 8-1. The 1-2, a swing and a miss. Reams it to center. Long run for Mertz. He can't get there. K-State has added 5 here this 6th inning. K-State will run the option. Here's Skylar Thompson. He walks it in. Walks it in for Antonio Gordon. Here's the shot and it's got it. And it is Kansas State, courtesy of Brent Carlson. Side of the box, crossing, wide open, the shot. Thompson right away. That ball is gone. She gets the ball back, goes up strong, scores, and one.
Upon arrival, I'm like, oh, these people love football. Like, these people are nuts about Kansas State. And Saturday morning, I mean, swarms of people outside of the stadium tailgate. We come in, it's about 45 minutes before game time. The stadium's packed. And I'm like, this is the atmosphere. Whenever I dream of playing college football, this is exactly what I see. The chants, the music, everything. And just throughout the entire game, I mean, it was just a place I knew I had to be.
K-State will run the option. Here's Skylar Thompson. He walks it in. Walks it in for Antonio Gordon. Here's the shot and it's got it. And it is Kansas State, courtesy of Brent Carlson. Side of the box, crossing, wide open, the shot. Thompson right away. That ball is gone. She gets the ball back, goes up strong, scores, and one.
Upon arrival, I'm like, oh, these people love football. Like, these people are nuts about Kansas State. And Saturday morning, I mean, swarms of people outside of the stadium tailgate. We come in, it's about 45 minutes before game time. The stadium's packed. And I'm like, this is the atmosphere. Whenever I dream of playing college football, this is exactly what I see. The chants, the music, everything. And just throughout the entire game, I mean, it was just a place I knew I had to be.
The director of the AQ Miller School of Journalism, Dr. Steve Smethers, will be retiring at the end of next semester. Reporter Bernie Harkins has the scoop on this story.
Dr. Steve Smethers, director of the AQ Miller School of Journalism, has been an educator at K-State for about 20 years. Throughout his time here, he has served in various positions, including being former associate director of undergraduate education.
Administrative jobs come and go. I mean, I love being director of the school and so on and so forth, but, you know, I won't miss that. What I will miss is the ability to work with students. I really have to come to grips with that. My students are my family, and it's really hard to say goodbye to members of your family.
I'm here at MHK Hall, home of one of the most well-known professors here at the AQ Miller School of Journalism, Dr. Steve Smethers. As of earlier this semester, he announced his retirement announcement and how he'll be transitioning his life from this to this.
This announcement was sad for a lot of students, faculty, and staff. Tom Halak, co-worker of Dr. Smithers, speaks about the impact he has made on K-State.
He's going to be leaving a big hole as he retires, and just thinking about the vast number of students that have been impacted by him and his influence is amazing. He has made a huge, huge impact on K-State.
Dr. Smithers serves on the board of directors for the Kansas Association of Broadcasters, and on October 3rd, 2021, Dr. Smithers will be inducted into the Kansas Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Louise Benjamin, former co-worker of Dr. Smithers, exclaims he deserves all the recognition he is receiving.
Recognition that he has received, especially his induction into the Kansas Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame, is well deserving. Steve has been involved in radio since he was a teenager. And then coming back, to school with all of the knowledge that he brought with him really helped enhance the education of students in particular. And I think that is one of the things that really, really is key, to Steve and to his personality.
Smithers will also be receiving this year's Distinguishing Service Award from the Kansas Broadcasters Association as well for outstanding community service. As Smithers transitions into his retirement at the end of this fiscal year, he hopes to leave students with the willingness to get out and get active in their community.
We said, I dare you to take that back home and do something good for your town or wherever you live. And I hope I've been able to get that across to people, that when we report on what goes on in our towns, when we have a way of being able to provide communication conduits for our communities, when we have the ability to take the skills we've got and the incredible innovation that we teach here on, whether it's in journalism or in strategic communications, when we're able to teach that and when we're able to instill that, I hope that our graduates are able to go out and put that into the communities in which they live.
In Manhattan, I'm Brittany Harkins for MHK All Day.
12, stand by.
Going outside and staying active can be difficult in the age of video games and technology. Reporter Dawson Wagner shows us what volunteers from around the Manhattan community are building to prevent that.
Frank Annaberg Park. Home to trails, trees, soccer fields, batting cages, and spaces for families and friends to get outside and be with nature. And until this last week, new additions haven't been made to the trails until now. Volunteers from around Manhattan have teamed up to create a kid-friendly bike park.
I think of this as kind of our pilot project, and hopefully we can do similar things at other parks around town.
Yeah, so Habitat for Humanity, we build homes, community, and hope, and so this falls within our community sector umbrella, and we're really excited to see young people out here using the park amenities that our city has and using it in a new way.
Not only using it in a new way, but also a creative one, by constructing log obstacles, oakwood bridges, and cement pillar bumps. Bike Walk MHK, Manhattan Parks and Rec, and Habitat for Humanity really tried to come up with a creative track with ramps and paths for the younger generation to try out when biking around the park.
Biking, so we have a lot of great trails around Manhattan that families and kids could ride, and then we have the wonderful river trails, and those are a little more advanced. And so the idea here is kind of a transition for kids, young kids to go from simple trail riding to kind of off-road riding. So that's what the pump track and the features are about.
That's the whole thing. It's hard to get an adult comfortable. Like they're not going to step out of their comfort zone as much as kids. They're more willing to try new things. So if we can get them young, then we're just gearing the next generation for being bike friendly. Yeah.
So not only does this new
the biking community, visit bikewalkmhk.com to find out more. Stay tuned because up next we have our sports update. When will Skylar Thompson be back on the field for the Cats? And a former Wildcat receiver has switched sports and was hitting it out of Bill this weekend. Jacob Hall has this and more still to come.
Your attention to the pride of Wildcat Land, the Kansas State University Marching Band.
Great environment it is here at Bill Snyder Family Stadium.
It's time for the Wabash Cannonball.
This crowd, this is energetic. This is perfect.
This atmosphere, it's just different. The one, the only, the pride of Wildcat Land, the Kansas State University Marching Band. The dribble, and it is showtime! He'll take it down on Jacobson, off to McGurl, layup, yes! to the 25-20. He's going to score. Wildcat touchdown. Let's go. He crushes
I've kind of always really been interested in interior design since I was little. And it's an art, it's like a creative outlet, but there's also this problem-solving aspect to it as well. So it's just like a puzzle. And there's also not really a right or wrong answer to it. I love it though. The best part about design is you get so caught up in it and you just get your flow going. You just get kind of lost in it. Oh, I love it.
This weekend, the Wildcats will be back in Bill Snyder Family Stadium as they look to go 3-0 with Nevada coming to Manhattan. Sixth-year senior quarterback Skylar Thompson will not be in the lineup as he is nursing a knee injury that he suffered on this play against Southern Illinois. This week, Coach Chris Kleiman said Thompson is not lost for the year and will be evaluated on a weekly basis.
We're down Skylar. I really don't have a timetable for you guys. I know he's not out for the season. That's the positive side of things. But we're going to kind of take it week by week. He is going to be out this week. And then we'll reevaluate it based on how he's feeling as well as based on what the docs say.
As the clock hit 0 and fans left the stadium, preparation then began to turn the gridiron into a softball field as several notable K-State names were in town for a brand new event.
It's fun to come out on this field and compete. So if it's football, softball, whatever it is, it's fun to compete.
Saturday night, the Wildcats got a victory over Southern Illinois in Bill Snyder Family Stadium, and Sunday, the inaugural Jordy Nelson Celebrity Softball game. The idea comes from Nelson's NFL days as celebrity softball games were a big hit while he was in Green Bay.
When I played in Green Bay, Donald Driver put it on, and then when he left, I was able to host it. So it's something I enjoy doing. I love playing slow pitch softball, and I think it's a fun way to get guys and girls back together, former teammates back together, have fun, honestly see who the athletes are and who aren't athletes.
One of the celebrities in attendance was Coach Bill Snyder, and he said he was glad to see so many former players back in Manhattan.
It's a joy to see them, and they're having a great time. I know that, and they enjoy seeing each other, and they just pick up right where they left off. It says family up there, and they're a major part of the family.
For Nelson, he says that the plan is to continue having this event in Bill Snyder Family Stadium for years to come.
The athletes will rotate through, just bringing back different generations of athletes from different sports, and like the name says, the legends of K-State.
Now, it wasn't all just home runs. All proceeds, including a $50,000 donation from a local bank, went to the Nelson Family Community Foundation. And a scholarship was also given to former walk-on linebacker and Junction City alum Ryan Hennington. Elsewhere, the K-State volleyball team will look to add to their 6-game win streak this weekend. The Volley Cats will conclude their non-conference slate at the Omaha Challenge with matches against Weber State today and Omaha tomorrow. And finally, although football season has just begun, basketball season is right around the corner. This week, both the men's and women's basketball teams announced their Big 12 conference opponents for this upcoming school year. That's your look at sports this week. And don't go away. Up next, we will take a look at a celebration of the local music scene in Wildstock 2021. And then we will head into the garage to get to know a member of this thriving community.
I started out in mechanical engineering, and I realized that I liked a lot more of the sciences and chemistries and biology classes that came with engineering. So then I decided to try out chemical engineering first, and I really enjoyed chemical engineering. An engineering degree also opens a lot of opportunities into other fields. Hoping to go to law school after I graduate to study patent law. It's a really good opportunity to take what you had learned with your engineering degree and apply it more so in a law or government-based application.
What the radio station has done for me, it has allowed me to use my public speaking capabilities and provide it into a entertaining way. I would say the fact that most of the classes I've taken have not just been fluff, like they feel like they've actually prepared me for the world. If all things go well, working there might have gotten me a job.
K-State, I think, has made me comfortable taking a leadership position. As a computer scientist, the leadership experience and how well you communicate with others is often overlooked by most people. I'm a section leader in the K-State marching band, so it definitely made pursuing, those leadership opportunities more easily. If you demonstrate proficiency in those skills, then that really sets you apart, and I think that really has to go into why I ultimately got the internship.
I always knew I enjoyed working with kids, and that was something I was passionate about, and I originally planned to become a teacher. I realized I was more passionate about the kids and their upbringing and their development, and I found that K-State actually offered a program that worked perfectly with my interests, and so I decided that school counseling was kind of the right path for me, just so that I could focus more on that psychology aspect and work with the kids on it.
What the radio station has done for me, it has allowed me to use my public speaking capabilities and provide it into a entertaining way. I would say the fact that most of the classes I've taken have not just been fluff, like they feel like they've actually prepared me for the world. If all things go well, working there might have gotten me a job.
K-State, I think, has made me comfortable taking a leadership position. As a computer scientist, the leadership experience and how well you communicate with others is often overlooked by most people. I'm a section leader in the K-State marching band, so it definitely made pursuing, those leadership opportunities more easily. If you demonstrate proficiency in those skills, then that really sets you apart, and I think that really has to go into why I ultimately got the internship.
I always knew I enjoyed working with kids, and that was something I was passionate about, and I originally planned to become a teacher. I realized I was more passionate about the kids and their upbringing and their development, and I found that K-State actually offered a program that worked perfectly with my interests, and so I decided that school counseling was kind of the right path for me, just so that I could focus more on that psychology aspect and work with the kids on a more intimate level.
Welcome back to MHK All Day. Manhattan has always had a thriving local music community, with its members coming from both on and off campus. Last Friday, K-State's student-run radio station Wildcat 91.9 and the Union Program Council celebrated that community by putting on their first ever Wildstock. The event was originally planned by UPC as a school celebration concert for students as they returned to campus for in-person classes. However, UPC quickly connected with Wildcat 91.9 for the opportunity not only to give K-State the chance to experience some of what the Manhattan music scene has to offer, but also a chance to give some of its students in that community a chance to share their talents and passions. The concert featured performances by current K-State student Chris Williams, former K-State student and American Idol contestant Ben Shavrin, Kansas City-based hip-hop duo The Black Creatures, and Netflix and TikTok star Spencer Sutherland. With a great first lineup and a successful turnout, both UPC and Wildcat 91.9 appear to already be planning for future events.
When it comes to Wildstock, we set it up in a way and kind of market it in a way that it can continue to go, and that's the intention. I think that this is a beginning of a tradition.
And so what we have planned for the future is can't quite talk about all of the aspects yet. And on top of that, really focusing and honing in on how we can support our local musicians and bringing them concert and publicity and just as much exposure and practice as we can give them.
Wildcat 91.9 and UPC were not the only ones looking forward to future performances. Many local performing artists and musicians are excited for the opportunities in the coming semester will bring for live shows. This week, I sat down with Chris Williams, or as she's known in the local music scene, DJ Chris, in a new segment where we'll be speaking with some of the newest artists and musicians to call Kansas home. Welcome to the Garage. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this new and improved version of The Garage. My name is Zach Perez, and I am here today with Chris Williams, otherwise known as DJ Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So, Chris, the main thing that I wanted to do in this interview was just kind of get to know, I guess, kind of your origin story and like how you got into DJing, how you got into the music scene in Manhattan, and then, kind of just get to know what you're doing right now as a DJ and a musician. So,
Okay.
All right. So I guess, yeah, first question was, what kind of inspired you to get into DJing, or what was your kind of entry point?
I've always loved music. I feel really strongly that like music can change lives. I mean, it's changed my life. It's saved me from things, I feel like. So just like growing up, I was always around music too. My dad always played records, especially on the weekends when he was off and I didn't have school. Like we'd start our mornings off with like records and like Jackson 5 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I actually started DJing wedding like receptions. I don't know, years ago. That was my first kind of like experience with DJing, but nothing like what I do now as far as DJing.
And you mentioned that you've had 2 gigs. I know one of them was Wildstock. What was the other one?
The other one was through UPC as well. It was the Glowcade.
Okay.
That was like before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID, I feel like it's kind of hard to ignore talking to any musician without talking about that, considering it kind of eliminates a very large portion of what you can do in terms of live music. Was COVID a really big hindrance for you? Were you still able to work on stuff, just not perform? But what was that like for you?
It didn't really affect me as far as like being a musician, and it's funny because I don't even really consider myself a musician. I just like to play music and vibe. Like I don't know, I don't play like I've taken like piano lessons like when I was a kid and stuff, but like instrument wise, I can't really play a lot of instruments. And I like interviewing artists more than anything. So it hindered that. That's what I really felt affected. Like that's how I felt affected by COVID a lot. I wasn't able to have the face-to-face conversations that I love so much. I didn't get to have those conversations, getting to know these artists and what they're about, because I value conversation a lot. I think people sleep on it. I like to learn about people through their storytelling. So I think that's what I really missed during COVID.
I do really feel like there's this super strong sense of community, and I think you probably feel that too. But is that something that, I don't know, do you think that that's something that maybe is like kind of unique? I mean, I think there's a unique sense of community here, and I don't know if you've necessarily felt that, but if you have, could you like describe it a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Being involved with MHK Music Scene, I have seen a really cool, unique community full of creatives.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, growing up, I didn't really feel that sense of community here, if that makes sense. And especially through the music scene, to me, we didn't really have a really big one. But since getting involved with like K-State, UPC, and MHK Music Scene, I've seen that we do have a really cool community, and I like that. I think it's really inspiring and motivating too, and you get to link up with people that you might not have linked up with to create cool stuff without having some kind of connection with MHK or K-State.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For more information on our local music community, visit mhkmusicscene.com. And for more information on Wildcat 91.9 and the UPC, follow them on social media at Wildcat 91.9 and at UPC. That's all the time we have for this week on MHK All Day. Thank you so much for listening, and we can't wait to share more stories with you next week. For MHK All Day, I'm Zach Perez.